Right, good afternoon everybody. Hope you can hear me from the Portman Road press box as a video starts to play in the screen behind us. I'm just going to wait for a little while for a few of you to join me because I'm here to discuss a football match. After all of the soap opera and drama of the last couple of days with the transfer window, which I'll come on to in a minute, we're back to the real stuff, we're back to the action, and we're back to seeing if Ipswich Town can ignite their season, get that first win and really kickstart things for the 25-26 season. A draw at Birmingham in that scrappy match on the opening day. Much better against Southampton here at home. That ended 1-1. And then a frustrating afternoon at Preston last weekend. An early penalty for Preston, who were then organised and Ipswich huffed and puffed and couldn't find a way back in. Since then, and I'm just being handed hot off the press, literally hot off the press, the team sheet here. So without further ado, we'll get into that, shall we? I can see a few of you starting to join me. And I'm going to be battling with Dave, the PA man, who is announcing the team at exactly the same time as me. But I'll go through it. Ipswich Town today. In goal, Alex Palmer. Right back, a change there today. Ashley Young making his full league debut for Ipswich Town. He's in at right back ahead of Ben Johnson. Darnell Furlong, Ipswich Town's new right back signing, among the subs today. Centre halves as usual, Dara O'Shea and Jacob Greaves. Left back as usual, Leif Davis. Central midfield, Azor Matasiwa, and he has himself a new, inverted commas, central midfield partner today, and that's Jens Kajusta. The reason I say inverted commas is because the two of them have played together at Reims in France before. Jens Kajusta, first start of his second debut, can we call it that? I think so. So great to see Jens Kajusta back in the starting lineup. He was on pre-match duties yesterday. Spoke really well. Really pleased. He's clearly very pleased to be back here. He's really feeling the love of the Ipswich Town fans. Can't wait to see him back in action properly at Portman Road today. Then we get onto the attack. Full league debut for Casey McAteer, the £11.5 million signing from Leicester on the right wing. He had a cameo at Preston last weekend. The number 10 is Ipswich Town's number 10, Connor Chaplin, in ahead of Sammy Schmodix, who's on the bench today. Left wing, Jaden Philogene again, who looks more suited to that left-sided role than the one on the right we saw in the Premier League. And up front, unsurprisingly, George Hurst. I'll run you through the subs bench, which is looking decidedly stronger for Ipswich Town after this recent transfer flurry. Christian Walton, the goalkeeper, Cedric Kipre, Ben Johnson, Darnell Furlong. So that's two right-backs on the bench for Ipswich. So a bit of unpicking there to be done, I think, before the window shuts at 7 p.m. on Monday. Jack Taylor, the midfield option. And then some real attacking options for Kieran McKenna today. Some weaponry to call upon. Sam Schmodix, former Championship Golden Boot winner. Chuba Akpom, former Championship Golden Boot winner. Jack Clark, who has lit it up in this league before for Sunderland. Not quite happened for him at Ipswich in the early stages of this season. So, but to have him to tap on around the 70-minute mark is quite the option. And then a new striker in the form of Ivan Azon, who's arrived on loan from Como. It was a bit of an on-off transfer saga, but the Spanish striker, who we're told is physical, aggressive, runs his socks off, plays with the whole of his heart, Kieran McKenna said, someone that the fans are going to really take to. Can he be the next kind of Spanish striker icon at Ipswich Town, following on from Pablo Cunyago from the 2000s? Let's wait and see. So I've touched upon it. It's been a busy, 24 hours, 27 hours, 4 signings in the space of for Ipswich Town. 2 of them weren't registered in time two of them unavailable to play today for different reasons. Marcelino Nunez from Norwich, a shock signing from across the border. He's got a little ankle injury at the moment, picked it up in the early stages of the season for Norwich. Keeps him out today, but he should be back over the international break and hopefully will be ready to make his first Ipswich outing against Sheffield United on Friday night after the international break. And then last night, it was announced late last night, Sindre Vala Egeli, 19-year-old Norwegian star in the making, has come from Danish club Nordsjælland for a championship record fee of £17.5 million. We understand, I'm told that Ipswich beat Porto and Club Brugge to his signing, so a real statement of intent there. The lad looks absolutely mustard from the highlights videos. They don't always tell you the full picture, but he looks good from the bits and pieces that we can see online, and there's a reason Ipswich have paid the amount of money they have for him. Both he and Nunez are set to be unveiled to the crowd, I believe, about 10-15 minutes before kick-off today, so that will be a nice moment. It's a bit of feel-good factor in the air again after a bit of frustration starting to build after the winless start and the Preston result. Ipswich fan needed some transfers, and they've been delivered them in the last few days. Now they need to go and build on it and get that first win of the season. Not only that, the first home league win of the calendar year. Ipswich haven't won here in 2025. I'll start taking some thoughts on the lineup today. Let's have a little look. Yeah, James Walsh there. Hopefully today kicks off the season proper for us. Amen to that, James. It'd be great to go into the international break on the higher of a win. It would really build upon the last sort of 48 hours or so, wouldn't it, with the transfers. Saltwater Born, come on you Blues, absolutely. Dino, Heath in the house. I believe Dino sits just behind us. He might be watching from afar. I can't put him out. But as he has rightly pointed out, and I'll show him to you there, give us a wave. The gaffer's here, Mark Heath, with an appearance at Portman Road today. A wicked Rams fan, but no doubting where his loyalties lie today. Is there, Mark?
Absolutely. Town all the way, baby.
Town all the way, baby. You can hear from him there. So let's have a look. Got one here. Hope to see you walking out with a new player, Stu. I don't know if that's quite my role today. I'm very much in the press box. Gareth, what's the rule on club developed players in the matchday squad? Thought we had to name one, or we're only allowed 8 subs. Yes, I believe that is the rule. Let me have a little look through the squad today. Are we missing someone? Have we got someone? It's a very good point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got the 9 subs, and I believe you do have to have one that is homegrown. Club developed. I'm going to have to look into that. I hope there's not been some sort of admin error on Ipswich Town's behalf here, because I believe you're right in saying when I've written pieces, you do have to have one that is club developed, or as you rightly point out, you have to have one fewer sub, unless they've broadened the rules to make it homegrown in terms of you have to have been at a club in general as a youth in this country. Let me look into that. It's an interesting one. Thoughts on those left out of the squad? Are they on the block this window? So who are we missing? Luke Wolfenden jumps off the page straight away. It's not unusual for Kieran McKenna to have limited centre-halves on the bench. He certainly doesn't like having more than one. Sometimes he doesn't have any at all. He prefers to have his benches weighted more towards the attacking end of things. In the Championship promotion season, a big part of that was bringing on 3-4 changes at the top end of the pitch and wearing teams down and being fitter, having greater depth and getting late winners. That said, Luke Wolfenden, there clearly is a conversation around him leading into deadline day on Monday, 7 p.m. the deadline. If I was Luke Wolfenden, I would be feeling a little bit disappointed that his game time is clearly limited at the moment. A big part of those back-to-back promotions. Didn't look out of place in the Premier League at all. When Ipswich switched to a back three, I thought he came in and looked really well suited to that. He's, 26 off the top of my head now. Important time in his career. And yes, he did sign a longer-term contract, but footballers want to play, and maybe he feels now is the right time for him to get out of his comfort zone. He's an Ipswich boy. He's been here all of his career to go and play. Lots of championship interest, as you can imagine. Coventry, Watford amongst those interested in him. Ipswich would be silly to let him go without getting a replacement in, so it feels like that's where we're at the moment. But maybe if the price was right and they could get a suitable replacement in, so that they've got two for that right-sided centre-half role. You've obviously got Breeze and Kipre for the left-sided centre-half role. Maybe that's something they'll look at, but it has to be on Ipswich's terms. Balancing act, isn't it, between keeping players happy but making sure that you've got yourself well protected for the rigours of a Saturday, Tuesday, busy old championship season ahead. Who else are we missing from that squad? Let's get the squad up and have a little look. Please tell me if there's anyone notable absentees today. Anyone else missing from that squad today? Cameron Humphreys not on the bench. I don't think that's a great surprise. Potential. I think that's a really interesting one, what they do with Cameron Humphreys, because he's versatile. He can provide some cover in that left back position, which Ipswich are light on, with Connor Townsend out for the season. That said, Ashley Young can play there. Jacob Greaves can shuffle across there, and you can play Kipre at centre half. But Cameron Humphreys, you need some low maintenance squad players that are happy to play a good supporting role throughout the season, that are good characters, that are leaders, and Cameron Humphreys is certainly I'm back. I don't know what happened there. I think the internet had a bit of a meltdown, but I'm back in. Where were we? Cameron Humphreys. Yeah, interested to see whether he goes out for another loan. Had a really successful one at Wickham in League One last season. Where would Ipswich place him? Probably in the Championship. Got to be careful about not putting him to a rival, but a club that suits him both stylistically with the manager, or do you keep him around and have him playing a part behind the scenes? I get the feeling Kieran McKenna's a little torn on that one. At the moment, there is, of course, a 25-man squad limit to stay within. Ipswich are now up to 30 senior players. You can register a maximum of 25, so clearly there needs to be some trimming. I was talking to AJ in the press room before. Where do we see those 5 players coming from at the moment? There's some obvious ones. Elkan Baggott will go out on loan again, no doubt about that, after signing a new contract. Well covered at left-sided centre-half, as discussed. Connor Townsend won't be registered. He's got an ACL that's going to put him out for the season. So there's 2. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult. Wes Burns, I can't see being registered now, with McAteer starting today, with Vala Ageli in. Ipswich have now got some right-wing options. There's no need to rush Wes Burns back. I know he's targeting October as his return time, but there's a difference between being back and being properly back, and it's probably going to be right at the end of this calendar year before Wes Burns is able to fully contribute. So probably deregister him or not register him. So there's 3. Then you're probably looking at one of the full-backs needing to go with Darnell Furlong in. That's 4 right-backs, with Furlong, with Ashley Young, who starts today, with Ben Johnson, who started the first 3 championship games, and Harry Clark, who's injured. Is Ben Johnson potentially in danger of being sold? I would say so. He's probably on decent money as someone who came in as a Premier League player on a Bosman, even with a relegation reduction clause. Do Ipswich maybe look to move him on now? Possibly. Harry Clark, what can you do with him? He's got an injury at the moment. Spent obviously the back end of last season on loan at Sheffield United. Maybe for the time being, don't register him to take up a slot. And Ali Al-Hamidi as well. Again, complicated by the fact that he's picked up an injury, a medium-term injury, post-Bromley. Difficult night for him there. Ipswich now have 3 forwards in Hurst, in Akpom, and in Ivan Azon as well. So they're probably the options for deregistration. Do Ipswich Town want to do anything else in terms of incomings? Kieran McKenna said at his press conference yesterday that is probably the majority of the work done now. He's pretty happy with the squad. He's got to be careful that he's got to have enough. There's a balance between having enough options and enough depth for the season ahead, but also not having too many and making sure players feel part of it and not too far away from minutes at any given time. The one area that I would say that they might look at is central midfield and having someone to compete for that sort of defensive midfield destroyer role for Azor Matosiwa. The other midfielders are all really the sort of the box-to-box types, I would say. Nunez, Fiusta, Jack Taylor, Cameron Humphreys. They're all kind of those left-sided box-to-box 8 types. Don't like that modern parlance with midfielders, but I don't see any of them being really that holding midfielder that Azor Matosiwa is. So maybe another one there. In terms of outgoings, any inverted commas ones, Jack Taylor maybe. Have Ipswich got enough midfielders now with Nunez and Fiusta probably rotating in that role? Does that put him in the firing line for a potential exit? Maybe. We'll have to see. But it's going to be a more right. This might have to be the last attempt because the internet keeps playing up. We'll try and get it. Yeah, Graf, do you think we'll get another central midfielder to back up Matosiwa? Personally, I think that would be sensible, but we'll wait and see. I think that's the one area left now for Ipswich to be really 2 players for every position. That's probably the only position now where you could argue that's not the case. We've got a football match to talk about here as well. Sean, some early goals for Town will create a crackling atmosphere and win will be great before the international break. Absolutely. Ipswich Town haven't started games well enough in general this season. Birmingham, no, didn't get off to a great start. That was obviously Birmingham tails up after promotion. Place was rocking, so maybe you can understand that. Southampton did start really well here. First 10 minutes, great, burst out the blocks, got the early goal, but that start faded far too fast, really, and they allowed Southampton to get a foothold in the game and back on top. So they need to maintain that for longer, if possible, today. And then Preston last weekend gave away a poor penalty, and that gave Preston something to defend. So a good start today, I agree, is crucial. This is Johnston in the squad. I assume you're talking about Ben Johnson there. Yes, he's on the bench today. So let's have a quick chat about Derby before we wrap up. Derby County stayed up on the final day of last season, played out a 0-0 draw with Stoke on the last game, which saw Luton go down. Difficult season for them. Paul Warne sacked in the second half of the season. They managed to go and get John Eustace, former Derby player from Blackburn, who were in the playoff places at the time, and he got them in order, and they had a good finish to the season. And there was a feeling that they'll kick on this year. And under John Eustace, 12 signings, they're at now after a couple more in midweek, one of whom needs no introduction to you guys, Lewis Travis, who came on loan to Ipswich in the second half of that promotion season from the Championship. He makes his debut today for them. Some familiar faces in their lineup. Callum Elder, left wing back, not particularly fondly remembered here. He came in under Paul Lambert during the Championship relegation season, the Australian left wing back. Who else have we got? Matt Clark, former Ipswich Academy product, left-footed centre half, who went to Portsmouth as part of the swap deal for Adam Webster, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. So he never really got a chance to get going at Ipswich. And then on the bench, Caden Jackson, who more than played his part. Kieran McKenna speaks so well of Caden Jackson, spoken about him in the press conference as being someone who really set the culture here at Ipswich Town. Never really a regular starter, but worked so hard behind the scenes, knew his role, worked hard on developing himself as a player. Kieran McKenna really took him to new heights. But I'm not saying Kieran McKenna's the best player technically to ever have pulled on an Ipswich Town shirt. He himself will admit that, but he used his attributes well, didn't he? His pace, his work ethic. He was always ready when called upon. Played a big role on and off the pitch in Ipswich Town's rise. Will he have a part to play for Derby off the bench today? We shall see. A couple more before we wrap up. Do you think Sindre is more of a ready-made player than Amari was in the Championship season? It's a really interesting comparison with Amari. If you remember at the start, Amari Hutchinson went initially on loan from Chelsea, was kind of in and out, wasn't he, in the first half of that Championship season. Got that goal at Southampton earlier in the season, but they slowly sort of built him into the team, and then he became that star player in the second half of that season, which led to everyone sort of hoping and praying that Ipswich would sign him permanently, which of course they did. What I will say is I think Sindre Vala Ageli, I need to get used to saying that, will have looked at Amari Hutchinson's progress at this football club and others, Liam Delap, and this is now seen as a football club that young players should come to and develop. And if you do really well, you'll get you move higher up the chain. Hopefully, Ipswich can progress at the same rate as some of these players eventually, and keep them and enjoy them for a little bit longer. So I'm not expecting Sindre to suddenly go straight in and play week in, week out and light it up from the start. I think that would be unfair to expect. Obviously, he comes with a hefty transfer fee to his name, but Ipswich have other options there. They have McAteer, they have Ogbene. So I would imagine it will be sort of in and out and maybe eased in off the bench to start with. But look, he looks really good, doesn't he? From, as I say, highlights so far, and the price tag is what it is. So really excited to see him in action. He looks very nimble for his height. He's big. He's got good feet. He's skillful. He's direct. He's left-footed, so he cuts in off the right and gets shots away. Obviously, there's been some Haaland comparisons with him being young and Norwegian and doing well over in Denmark. So, intrigued to see what he can bring to the table. But what had been a very slow and seemingly muddled transfer window has certainly been supercharged in the last 48 hours. Now Ipswich need to back it up with a good performance and a good win today, and we all go off into a 2-week break with our tails very much up. Can they do it? Let's find out. We've got around 20 minutes to kick off. We should have Nunez and Sindre Vala Ageli introduced to the crowd in the next 10 minutes or so, which should be fun, and then hopefully Ipswich can start fast and get the job done today. As we know, cliche time, no easy games in the Championship. The fact that Stoke went into this round of games top, Sheffield United were bottom, is a reminder of what this Championship is all about. So taking nothing for granted. I think the crowd have realised that now after the results so far. So hopefully everyone's bang at it today, on and off the pitch, and Town can get the job done. Keep an eye on the websites for all our coverage as usual. Thank you so much for joining me. See you on the other side.